decided to take the day today and take myself on a little walk. And as I do this little walk, and I have no idea where I'm going, I'm just walking. I just want to walk. I was going to rollerblade, but I think it's going to rain and it's already kind of drizzling a little bit, and this feels better as a walk. So I wanted to talk about the laws of the universe and as they apply to energy, working with your own energy field, and what that even means. I know that for me, throughout my life, I thought that there was like some secret formula that I had to learn to be able to work with my energy. And so I studied a myriad of varieties of ways of looking at the universe to try to figure it out. And it's funny because at the end of it all, it comes back to such a simple thing. And I want to talk about that today. So if that's something that you're into, please stick along, stay, listen. Maybe you'll get something from it. And also we'll go on a little adventure together, because why not? Also, while I remember, please like, comment, and share this video, subscribe to the channel, repost it, tell your friends about it, whatever. I always forget to do this part of it, and I would like to start not forgetting. So this is my way of not forgetting. It really helps me out. It also lets me know that you guys are into what I'm doing, and just kind of reinforces, making more of these videos and sharing more information in a way that you guys can actually use. So yes, thank you for watching. Perfect little spot in a secluded little place to do a little recording and sit, because I've been walking a while. So let's talk about the first law of the universe. See, I went back home and I got my corduroy in my hat because I knew that it was gonna rain. Even though AccuWeather or whatever said it wasn't going to, I knew it. And it is. It's drizzling right now while I'm sitting here. So the first law of the laws of the universe is the law of divine oneness. And so this speaks to the interconnectedness of us all. And the way that I see this and the way that I understand this is you are part of a beach, right? So you are a speck of sand that is part of a beach. The beach being the all, right? And different religions and different ways of looking at the world that we live in, the reality that we exist inside of, look at this a little bit in a variety of different ways, but the essence of what they're saying is all the same. And that being that you are a speck of sand on the beach. You are always going to be part of the beach, even though you are an individual, even though you have your own color, you have your own consistency, you are made up of maybe slightly different materials than the speck of sand next to you. Maybe you look slightly different, maybe you're laying in a different part of the sand, maybe you get swept up by the water, by the waves, maybe you don't, maybe you get stepped on, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these variables of the beach, but we're still all part of the same beach. So the way that you treat your speck of sand still influences the rest of the beach, even if you don't directly see that influence. When you think of yourself as forever part of the whole, there is an inherent want to take care of yourself a bit more than if it's just you and you're alone and there's no purpose to this outside of this one life and how you decide to live it, right? That feels a lot more parasitic, like you're a parasite on this earth and you're just here to, shit, fuck, eat, and sleep. It's a bit different. But when you feel like you are inherently part of a whole that is larger than you, that has a divine purpose and a divine plan, you want to take care of yourself a bit more. And when you develop that inner love, because this is self-love, right? Self-love isn't just rituals of taking care of yourself per marketing sales tactics that tell you that to love yourself you need to have XYZ ritual and get facials all the time or whatever else they tell you that you need to do. But it's loving the inherent self that is your speck of sand, be that for the good, be that for the bad, be that for everything in between. You hear these bells? always connected. The universe is always listening. Always. Funny enough, okay, so law of oneness, right? A really good way to test this is to stop controlling your life, because when you stop controlling your life, you kind of surrender to the path that your life is on. And so you allow the universe to show you that it's there. And the more that you start to pay attention to your surroundings and start to become aware of the things around you, the people that come into your life, when they come into your life, what purpose they bring into your life, and you stop seeing the people that come into your life as owing you something, but instead of bringing you like a message and then going away when the message has been delivered and understood and that's it, you kind of shift your perception of how this web of oneness works, right? So it's less about there being like specific people that you're supposed to attach to and then hold on to the rest of your life, but you're forever connected to the people that you're meant to come into contact with. They will be drawn to you one way or another if they are meant to come into contact with you. And the less that you try to control your life, the more you allow that flow of chance, of coincidence, of possibility to find you. And so you develop this you develop your sense of seeing the interconnected web of oneness that we all exist inside of. So that's kind of how I've perceived that one. To rain a little more, but I'm going to see if I can walk a bit more, and I'm starting to lose battery, but we're going to see how much further we can get on this battery and in this rain. AccuWeather is a liar. He's a liar. Look at this cute place. What a magical little find. So law number 2 is the law of vibration, which states that everything is in a constant state of vibration. Every single atom in your body, every single cell, everything all around us, everything that we see is made up of molecules that are forever in a state of vibration. And this vibration can be slow, low, and this vibration can be high, fast. And so for us humans, this law of vibration correlates to our emotional state. So if we feel more dense emotions, and we'll get into emotions and neutrality in a later law of the universe, but as we feel different emotions, some emotions are more dense, so they are slower, lower vibration, and other emotions are higher, faster, higher vibration. Your being, this system that you're a part of, which again we'll get into deeper into a different law of the universe, the way that it feels, the way that it functions, the way that it takes care of itself is based on how you vibrate. Your emotional state is based on how you vibrate. So, and you vibrate based on your emotional state, and you have control over that essentially through this combined system that is mind, body, soul, spirit. You control this system. And so if you feel that you are in a low vibrational state, literally shaking or vibrating in some capacity, be that your hands, be that your body, be that your head, will literally shift the vibration of the rest of your system. And that is probably the most important part of this whole thing, because you have more control over how you vibrate than you think you do, and it's less about how you only think, but actually integrating the body into it. And it's not anything complex. It's extremely simple. Everything is extremely simple on purpose. Weirdly enough, the simpler is actually harder to grasp, because we assume that the answer is somewhere out there, but it actually is here. It's easy to find. It's a matter of integrating and applying it. So You're constantly vibrating. Everything around you is constantly vibrating. You are correlating to that vibration at all times, and the density of your emotional plane dictates what frequency you vibrate at. We're going to leave this one at that and keep walking. Actually, I'm not done with this one. So think about emotions, right? And what you physically do when you feel negative emotions. When you feel more dense emotions, you want to freeze. You want to stay still, right? So what does depression do? Depression, what do you want to do when you're depressed? You want to lay in bed, you don't want to do anything. What do you want to do when you feel guilty, when you feel shame, when you feel any other like lower vibe emotion? You want to stop moving. So what helps you get out of this state? Moving your body. Even a walk, going outside and moving your body like a walk, or working out, right? You're starting to vibrate your body, you're starting to vibrate your cells, will shift you out of that state. Even if that is only to the level of pride or anger. Anger actually is a higher frequency vibration emotion than like depression or sorrow or guilt or shame or whatever else. So moving your body will raise your vibration because you are literally vibrating your body, your cells. And so this also applies to the initial law of oneness, be that with the people that you surround yourself with, the environment that you are inside of will affect how you vibrate, the emotional state that you are in. So if the people that you are around, the conversations that you are always having are of a lower frequency, let's say you're complaining to each other all the time, or you're both depressed, or whatever it is, they're just low vibrational surroundings that you're in. Maybe you don't feel safe. Maybe you are constantly talking about the news or the future or the current thing that's happened that has upset everybody. This will inadvertently lower your vibration as well, because we're kind of like tuning forks. We resonate with one another. That's why going outside and taking a walk resonates you to the frequency of nature, which is always high, which is always vibrating at a level of balance. Nature is always at a state of balance, and so you resonate like a tuning fork to the vibrational frequency of balance. That's why if you want to shift your state, go outside. Go spend time with the elements. You literally don't have to think, you don't have to actually do anything outside of get yourself outside, plop down on a bench, and just listen and breathe. And even that alone is enough to shift your state. Also, when you're in a high vibe state, what do you want to do? When you're happy, what do you want to do? You want to dance, you want to jump around, you want to run in circles, right? When dogs are happy, when they get the zoomies, when they're excited, what do? They jump around, they vibrate themselves. When they want to shift out of a state, what do? They shake their body. When a gazelle gets attacked by a lion, but survives, what does it do afterwards? It shakes its body and continues on to the rest of what it's trying to do. Why do music festivals heal people and raise their just like overall well-being? Because you're literally in a group vibrating at the same time. You're jumping up and down, and you're vibrating up and down, you're jumping up and down, you're also resonating with the frequency of the music, and as a collective, you even look like a collective field of cells vibrating together. Think of like a drone view of Lollapalooza or something. Everybody is jumping up and down consecutively together, and that is literally the same thing that's happening in your body with all of your cells. That's why music festivals are so healing. That's why music festivals feel so connecting, right? Sure, it's like there's so much more to that, and again, we'll get into that in later laws of the universe, but at its initial basic form, you are in nature, resonating with other human beings that are also feeling good, that are also excited, feeling into the music, and together you are feeling that connection of oneness at a high frequency. Of course, it's going to be healing. fourth law of the universe is the law of correspondence, which correlates to the first two laws that we've already talked about in the vibrating atoms and how you're a tuning fork to the things around you. So the law of correspondence says that the microcosm is the same as the macrocosm. That's why, like, when you look at your fingerprint, that correlates to, like tree bark, for example, or like tree veins inside of tree bark, or like lightning looks like your lungs. And so there's this concept that as above, so below, as within, so without. The same thing that you experience on the small scale happens on the big scale. So your atoms vibrating is just the same as everything around you vibrating. And how you feel inside is the same as what happens externally in your world. So it's kind of like that mirror effect, law of correspondence, right? So everything mirrors itself. That's why when your inner world is functioning at a high state and you feel good, things are vibrating high, your external reality will mirror this as well. If you feel low, if you're vibrating at a lower frequency, slower, more dense, your external reality will mirror this to you. Same with it comes down to perception essentially. So simultaneously, the way that you think affects the way that your cells feel. So if you talk positively to yourself, the cells mirror that positivity, that high vibrational state. Your reality mirrors that high vibrational state, and so each fractal mirrors the fractal before it, pretty much. Yeah. It goes bigger than this, but I think that's all I have to say on that for now. So I'm sitting here watching this water and just thinking to myself, this is the epitome of feminine rage. And I don't know about you if you're a female. Have you ever allowed yourself to genuinely feel feminine rage? And I'm not talking about in a way that's it's at somebody, but in a conscious container that is about you. So somatic breathwork, right, allows you to feel emotions. And when you give yourself enough permission to let go enough to feel feminine rage, it is the most powerful feeling that I personally have ever felt. Mainly because beyond that feminine rage is genuinely grief. And beyond that grief is gratitude. And beyond that gratitude is joy. And when you allow yourself that permission to feel, you realize that is the threshold of your gifts. Nobody has control over your power but you, unless you give it to them. And allowing yourself to feel that feminine rage in a conscious container that is not because of somebody else, but it is purposely done by you, for the betterment of you and your system, it takes on a whole different meaning and a whole different purpose, and is so freeing. It is so empowering. Just like this water hitting the shoreline, water is so immensely powerful, and it's malleable. It will literally change its environment, its surroundings, and it does it in the most gentle and unexpected way. It conforms to its environment, and then from within changes what it looks like, what it feels like, how it moves, how it stands. It can break things apart, it can build things, it's wild. If you haven't felt feminine rage, I highly recommend you do. And if you'd like to, you should definitely hit me up and do a somatic session with me. It might not be the first one, you might not get there, because it takes a bit to give yourself that permission to let go. We're trained in society in a variety of ways to fear our emotions, that our emotions are held by someone else, and that we have to hold them to be accepted and to be loved. But the more that you shift that perception to loving yourself in your fullness, and your fullness being your messy, chaotic, destructive self. Look at this fucking badass lady. What the fuck is she doing? How can I... There's this lady, I don't know if you can see her, but she's literally standing at the edge of this tumultuous water, and she's fishing. She's throwing a hook, and she's gonna fish. Because that is the power of a woman. We don't fear anything. We're told we should fear things. But every time you break through, she just threw it in. Every time you break through a fear, you realize how manufactured it is, and how much bigger you were trained to perceive it than it actually is. Woo! Look at that. Oh! Oh my god, this lady's nuts. I love it. I am just the same amount of nuts. Oh! Look at her. Look at it go. It doesn't care that there's a shore there. It doesn't care that there's... It doesn't care. It just goes where it wants to go. And it can change form, it can change shape, it can change its literal molecular structure to become completely different, to be a part of new environments and still influence them. And that's our element. That's the feminine element. There's so much inner strength in a woman, and only she holds it. I've experienced my feminine rage in multiple somatic sessions where I'm literally just full on yelling in my room by myself. Not at anybody or to achieve anything, but just to feel. Just to allow myself to feel what is happening inside of me and to love that part of me that nobody else gets to see or experience unless I choose to allow them to. Most women generations before us never got the chance to do that kind of stuff. Oh, 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 oh. Ooh! I love it. That is awesome. There you go. There you go. Good job. Good job. So the fourth and final law that I want to cover in this video, and I'll kind of divvy them up into various videos, is the law of attraction, which is the fourth law of the universe. And this law of attraction is probably the most famous one. Most people know about it, but it really does come down to intention. What you focus on grows in your life. So if you focus on negativity in your life, you're going to attract more negativity. If you focus on positivity in your life, you're going to attract more positivity. And it's even less woo than you think, because it bases down to perception. If your mind is constantly thinking about negative things, you are going to perceive negativity in your surroundings. If you train your mind to think positively, or maybe you just inherently think positively, you will see positive things around you in your life. And as this applies to energy and working with your energy, we all have an energy field, every single one of us. And a lot of my videos and a lot of what I talk about working with your own energy field. It's less about connecting to Reiki and universal love energy channel, and more about what you can do with your own field. And so we are constantly co-mingling fields in person and over distance. Again, that law of oneness, right? We are always all connected. So we're always co-mingling energies as well. And so intention allows you to transmute that energy. Once energy is in your field, it is yours. What you choose to do with it becomes how you place power into that energy. So if you get energy from somebody outside of you, and your perception of it is that it is negative, you are giving the power of that energy to them. Instead of taking that energy that has now entered your field, that you can now work with and transmute, and literally you work with it and transmute it by making the decision that this is mine now, it is my power now, and I get to do with it what I want to do with it. You don't have to do any special, specific incantation for it to transmute. It really does come down to a shifted thought pattern, a shifted perception. Things come back to our thoughts, and things are so instant because, again, time isn't linear. Time is infinite. It only exists in the now. So when you make the decision that the energy that you just received is now positive and you get to work with it, kind of like dominatrix energy, right? Kind of like this is now a sub. This now is here to allow me to do whatever I want. You get to decide what the perception of what you're bringing into your field registers into your system as. And it comes down to a simple thought pattern shift and a simple perception shift. That's a little easier said than done in practice, but this happens in practice through micro adjustments. So when you get energy from somebody and you feel it coming into your field, if you want to cut it, we've talked about this before in other videos, you snap it, cut, or you clap. Like, for example, yesterday at my friend's shop, the 3 dogs that she has these 2 little dogs and a bigger dog who's like a husky pit multi-breed combo situation, beautiful dog. But they were starting to get jealous of the attention, who was getting the attention, all that stuff, like dogs do. And as they're kind of getting more rambunctious and kind of starting to tiff with one another, I started clapping. Just like a continuous clap, And that alone shifted the energy that was building in the room, in the moment. Even with dogs, it shifts things because it's energetics, right? It doesn't matter what you are if you're a human. Like, this doesn't only apply to humans, this applies to any being. So you are always co-regulating, right? Going back to the law of correspondence, so within, so without, we're always co-resonating with one another. So clapping clears and recalibrates the energy field around you, and snapping will like sever, or more than anything, it's your way of claiming dominion over that energy cord. Woo! Big wave. Big emphasis of yes from the universe. So simultaneously, if you're getting energy from somebody in your field, you get to decide how much energy that, how much power that energy holds over you. If you have decided that this person wishes you ill or thinks some way about you, then their connection to you will feel negative, will feel like it's draining, will feel parasitic. But you are giving it that focus, that intention, that lens. So the question becomes less about them and anything that they're doing, or the fact that they're connected to you at all. And it becomes, how are you perceiving this person and the power that they have over you? And why are you giving your power away? And that becomes a self-love question. And weirdly enough, everything comes back to self-love. Because if you loved all of you, which takes time and takes practice, and this is why I do what I do and why I teach all this stuff, it's like to help people come back to that self-love space. Once you reach a place of inner self-love, you don't do this kind of stuff. The intention becomes different. It becomes like, oh, this energy's coming in, I get to choose what I do with it. How about I use it to my benefit, and he can think whatever he wants. She can think whatever she wants. They can perceive me however they want to. I'm going to choose to perceive them as helpful to me. And so you get to decide how those energies flow in and out of you. The law of attraction pulls things to you. The way that you speak about who you are at the very base of all of this, right? Who you perceive your system to be. Because your system is the microcosm that determines the macrocosm. So how you feel about yourself, how much you love yourself, how much you devote your time, energy, and attention to yourself, how devoted you can become to yourself, directly reflects in how devoted and loving the world that you live inside of is. So law of attraction comes down to beliefs that you hold about yourself. Because if you hold those beliefs about yourself, that means that you are attracting that same energy towards you. Fundamentally, the basis of all inner alchemy is self-love. Really coming into self-acceptance and viewing all of the self and being there for all of the self.